So air conditioning is essential when it comes to summertime, but unfortunately it can also open the door to opportunists that are trying to take advantage of the fact that we're trying to get into a cool space in our home and try and beat the heat. So in this video, we're gonna go over the top scams that might come your way. We're gonna talk about what each one of them are, what to look out for, how you know whether or not you're being lied to, and then if you feel like you're somebody that's capable, we're also gonna go over how these things can be tested and oftentimes replaced by you, the homeowner. So let's go ahead and jump right in. And possible scam number one are service contracts. Now, am I saying that all service contracts are bad? No, I actually have one myself. But what matters is how much are you paying and what are you getting in return? So for instance, I'll just share with you, mine is $150 a year, and that includes an AC tech coming out to my house at least twice a year. They check your refrigerant levels, they just check your overall health of your system along with some of your main components. I also get priority calls where if I do have a big issue, when I call in and need help, I won't get charged extra for it being after hours or on the weekends, and they're gonna come out to me before they're gonna come out to somebody who does not have a service contract. And I get a discount on their already marked up parts. But for me, that's not that much money to have some peace of mind of having another set of eyes looking at my AC unit on a yearly basis. In the meantime, I make sure that I'm taking care of it. But where potential scams can come in are if you're getting charged an astronomical amount of money, $300 to $500 a year just for them to come out and check your system. That is way, way overpriced. They're not gonna be able to offer you enough in return for that price. On the flip side of that, some of them will try and sucker you into super cheap service contracts for like 50, 60 bucks. And that is a way for some contractors to get out to your house, look at your system, and find issues with your system. And then that's when you really get the bill. Again, I'm not saying that this is all AC contractors, but this is something that does happen and things to look out for. So for this potential scam, it comes down to our condensation line. But what can happen with these is if they get blocked and the water starts backing up in that condensation line, then not only will the line itself back up, but there will be a pan underneath of your air handler that is also collecting the water or the condensation that is coming out of your unit. If that pan starts to fill up, oftentimes they are equipped with safety devices, often referred to as float switches, for instance. There is a switch inside of that sensor that then will either just turn off your unit altogether, or you'll notice a lot of the times you go to your thermostat and it just shows a blank screen. It's completely turned off and you can't get it to turn on. Well, that is that float switch doing its job, because of what it's trying to do is it's trying to prevent water from overflowing over that pan and causing damage in your home. But the potential scams that can come from this for unsuspecting homeowners is an AC tech might come out, look at it, they very well may take that opportunity to try and sell you either a new thermostat or a capacitor, and on top of that, they will also clean out your drain lines. But if you are having those symptoms as a homeowner, this is a very, very easy fix. So the way that you easily fix this is most people will have a shop vac. You don't need to have one that's necessarily this big. Plug it into the wall. Then you just take your suction hose. And of course, if we put this over our condensation pipe, it is not going to fit properly. It is very loose. There's plenty of space all the way around it. So there's two things you can do. You can either put it on there and then use a towel and put it around the top of your suction hose to kind of make it a little bit more airtight. Or you can pick up one of these, and I found this on Amazon. These are pretty darn inexpensive and they're made specifically for this job. You've got this green side over here that is made for different sizes of suction hose for whatever kind of shop vac you have. And then this side over here is for your standard size PVC, because pretty much all of your condensation lines are all going to run in the same size. So I'll just take my shop vac hose here, take the green side, fit it onto that green part right there. Then I take the black side and just shove that up inside of my condensation line. So I'll go ahead and turn it on. All right, so I saw quite a bit going through the clear part of our adapter there. So just go ahead and take the top off of this shop vac. And as you can see, all of that dirty water that's down in the bottom of this shop vac, it has completely evacuated the condensation line. So just keep this in mind. If your thermostat is showing that it's just not working at all, there's a very good chance you have a plugged condensation line. It's as easy and cheap as I just showed you here, because if you call an AC tech out for this specific service call, you can expect to pay anywhere from around $250 all the way up to $300, $400 plus just for them to clear your lines. And that's if they're at least somewhat honest and don't try to sell you on something else. Now, this next potential scam can kind of piggyback off of the condensation line that I just showed you a moment ago. And why that condensation line gets plugged up, there can be multiple reasons. One could be that there's a mold buildup, but one of the biggest reasons is not changing out your filters on a regular basis. So the next potential scam has to do with those filters. You need to make sure that you are changing your filters out on a regular basis. If you call an AC tech out and they find that your condensation line is plugged, one of the first things they're gonna look at is your filter, and then they're gonna want to replace it for you. You need to watch out for how much they're gonna charge you for that service of installing that filter, and what kind of filter are you getting. Oftentimes your HVAC techs are going to be carrying these on their vans or their trucks, and this is what they typically are going to be installing. These are super cheap, but they're going to charge you quite a bit more to install this filter, and this filter barely does anything. As you can see, you can clearly see through this filter. All this does is capture large particulates. So you're going to end up overpaying for a filter that is really not doing much for you. All right, so for this next potential scam that might come your way, this comes down to your line set. Now you have two lines. This thinner one is your liquid line, and this is what is then sending the refrigerant back into the house. And it should always be a fairly warm temperature. Whereas this line over here, which I have covered with this UV cover and insulation, and that is your suction line that is then bringing the gas or vapors back to your AC unit. And when you touch it, it should be very cold to the touch. So those are a couple of field tests that you can do to make sure that you're not having an issue. Again, this one over here should be warm, and this one over here should be cold. If you're not finding that with your lines, then you may very well have an issue. But the only way to know for sure is for it to actually be checked. So what is the potential scam that can come from your line set? Well, if you have a service contract or you have somebody just coming out and checking for maintenance issues, if they're coming out and telling you on a fairly regular basis that you need to keep adding refrigerant to your AC unit, either A, they're just lying to you and it's a way to be able to charge a little bit more. They'll word it in a way of, oh, you only need about a pound. Or B, you actually have an issue with your refrigerant lines and there is a leak somewhere. Because this is a closed system, you should not be losing refrigerant on a regular basis at all. So again, just be leery of the constant refrigerant top-offs. Run, don't walk from that HVAC tech because that should not be happening. And in some way or the other, they're being dishonest with you. Now for these next potential scams, we're gonna need to make sure that the power is off to our AC unit. And this next potential scam comes down to your condenser unit being cleaned. Now AC companies, a lot of them are just gonna tell you all they need to do is hose off your unit, and then they're going to charge you somewhere between $150, and I've even had people tell me they've been charged up to $700 just to get their condenser unit cleaned. For the most part, it's pretty easy to do. You need to make sure that you're getting a quality cleaner. Now I'll have links down in the description down below for the cleaners that I personally use and recommend. Then once you've got your coil cleaner, all that's left now is to actually clean the coils. Then I take off the lid of my condenser. Now we're able to clean the outside and the inside coils. Some people, like myself, are going to have 2 rows of coils. This is especially important to be able to clean the inside in order to get that second row of coils. So now it's at this point I start applying my coil cleaner, and I go from left to right, right to left, and I gradually work down on each side of the unit. Once I've sufficiently covered one side of the unit, I move on to the next, and I just repeat the process of going left to right, right to left, working my way from top to bottom. Then once all the outside coils are covered, then I go to the inside and I just repeat the exact same process that I did on the outside coils. Then after all my coils are covered, then I just let it sit for around 5 to 10 minutes, allowing that coil cleaner to do its job. And then after that 5 to 10 minutes is over, that's when I come back with a hose with a nozzle on it. Typically I use a shower or flat setting, cleaning off all that residual coil cleaner. Then once I'm done rinsing everything, all I have to do then is lower my lid back down onto the unit, reattach it using all the screws that I removed using a 5/16 driver. So this is super easy to do, very cost effective, only will cost around $10 to $20 to do it yourself. Whereas again, if you call out an AC tech, they're gonna charge you at the very minimum $150, all the way up to, again, I've heard up to $700 plus just to clean your condenser unit. And as you can see, it really shouldn't cost anywhere near that amount. All right, so this next potential scam is really more than just a potential scam. And not that it doesn't ever need to be replaced, but a lot of times they are replaced unnecessarily, or they need to be replaced and you get a bill for $400, $500, $600, and I've even heard people of paying anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 in order to test and change out their capacitor. And so this is going to be the most common scam that's going to come your way. But after this one, I'm going to show you by far the most expensive scam that might come your way. And one scam that AC techs might tell you is that the capacitor went bad, something is causing it to go bad. And while that can be true, most of the time that is not the case at all. These are wearable parts, just like your brake pads are on your vehicle. They wear down over time. And the way that they wear down is from heat. So that's why probably many of you that have had capacitors go out, you notice it's almost always during the summertime and oftentimes what feels like some of the hottest days of summer. All right, so before I work on anything here or test anything, I want to make sure that my capacitor is discharged. And I'll do that by using my screwdriver and holding on to the insulated end. And I'm just going to take my screwdriver and go from common to Herm first, and then from common to fan. And I'm just going to do that a couple times just to make sure it's discharged, which it is. All right, so now I'm just gonna remove all of my wiring from my capacitor. And on your capacitors, there's gonna be a label that shows you how many microfarads your multimeter should be showing in order to tell whether or not your capacitor is good or not. So I've got 70 and 5. So I'll go ahead and connect one of my probes to the common, my next to the Herm, so we should get around 70 microfarads. And as you can see, we're getting 68.9 microfarads. So on this side, it is still good. And then if we go from common to fan, we should get near 5. And as you can see, we're getting 4.965. So very near 5 and well within 6%. Now, if you find that the capacitor is bad and it's not reading within the range that is listed on the label, these are very easy to replace and they're very inexpensive. And typically, once you've done this once or twice, this is about a 5 or 10 minute job. So keep this all in mind. You know a little bit more about what to look out for. And this is just a brief overview. At the end of this video, I'll have a link for a much more in-depth description as to how exactly these work, and also go into more detail about how they should be tested and what to look out for. All right, so I showed you the most common potential scam, but now we're going to talk about what is by far the most expensive potential scam, and that deals with the compressor. So I know some of you have had an AC tech tell you that your compressor is bad and it needs to be replaced, but they don't stop there. Because compressors are expensive, then they try to upsell you to just buying a whole new unit because you're already spending thousands of dollars on the compressor. What's a little bit more to buy a whole new unit and start fresh? So in the event that the compressor is bad, just be looking out for that. They're going to probably mark up the compressor price so that it's a little bit closer to how much a new unit is going to cost, so you go with a new unit, because who wouldn't want to sell a brand new unit? The other scam is whether or not the compressor is actually bad. A lot of people just don't know anything about their units. They just know it's not working, and when an AC tech tells them, hey, your compressor's bad, you typically just take their word for it, right? And you just go ahead and replace it. And again, I'm not saying this is all companies, but this is something that can and has happened. And another thing that they'll tell you to look out for, because I've had numerous self-proclaimed AC techs in comments on previous videos that I've done dealing with this condenser, saying that since the top of my compressor is rusted like it is, that means that it's going bad and I need to have it looked at. I completely disagree with this. This is going to happen. They're exposed to the elements, metal rusts, but we're going to find out here in a moment who's right and how right they are, because we're going to test this out. So this can very easily be done. As you can see, I've already lifted off the lid of my condenser to get to my compressor. Then one test that can be done involves just using a multimeter like this one and ohming out the windings and then doing some simple calculations to see whether or not the compressor is good or bad. And while if you know what you're doing, that's easy to do as far as the calculations go, but a much simpler test, instead of using a multimeter and knowing where you need to put your clips on each of the windings and then doing your calculations, involves using this Supco megometer here. Now, I learned about this from my buddy Dave, who has the DIY HVAC Guy channel. If you haven't checked out his channel and you're interested in anything AC, then definitely check out his channel, because he's got a lot of really good information like I'm about to share here. And this tool does not involve any calculations. It just has a couple of clips on it, and I'm going to show you where these go in just a moment. And then it sends a little bit of current through these wires into the windings of the compressor, and it's checking out the insulation values on those windings. And it lets you know whether or not your compressor is in bad condition, whether it's going out, if it's in good condition, or if the lights go all the way down and there's no light showing up on here, then that means that your compressor is in perfect condition and it's really not even showing that it's on its way out, so you should get many more years of life out of it. All right, so first thing I need to do in order to do this test is I need to take the cover off. And then after I've got the cover removed, then I need to remove my wires just by wiggling out this connection right here. And now that exposes all of my terminals to the windings in the compressor. So now check out how easy this is. I'll take my black alligator clip and connect it to one of the screws or a bolt or anything that is connected to the chassis of the condenser. I'll just put one alligator clip on that, and that will serve as our ground. And then I'll take my red alligator clip. I'm going to check each one of the 3 terminals that are on this compressor, checking out each one of the winding. So I'll just connect it to the first one. Now that I've got both of those connected, now all I have to do is push this red button. A light is going to start up here at the top and work its way down, and it's going to show us whether it's in bad, good, or perfect condition. So I'm going to go ahead, push that button, and as you can see, that green light, it went down really quick. I'll do it again. Watch the light go all the way down to the bottom and then disappear. So that is telling us that on that one winding, it is in very good condition. So now I'm going to go ahead, move the alligator clip to another winding. Go ahead and push the button again. And did you see that green light go all the way down to the very bottom and then disappear again? I'll do it again real quick. See how it went all the way down and disappeared? So again, that second winding is now showing us this is in very good condition. So we just have one more to check. So I'll go ahead, move that alligator clip to the third one, and I'll push the button again. And as you can see, that green light went all the way down to the bottom and then disappeared. So I checked all of the windings on my compressor here as quick and easy as that. As you saw, it was showing us that they were all in very good condition. If this was to be in bad condition or even on its way out, that light would have slowly gone down until it rested on a specific reading. But when you have a compressor that is in perfect condition, it's just going to go through all those lights down to the bottom and possibly disappear super fast. So as you saw with this tool, it is super easy to do. Pretty much anybody can do it. So if you ever get an AC tech tell you your compressor's on its way out or it's bad and it needs to be replaced, well, if you have a tool like this, you can verify everything and just make sure that you're not getting ripped off. You can tell exactly what condition your compressor is in. So even if it's not perfect and it's showing up in the good, you still have time on that compressor. So I definitely recommend this device. It's highly accurate. Lots of HVAC techs are using them. And like always, I'll have links for this along with all of the other tools that you saw in this video. I'll have links for everything down in the description down below, where when you click on those links, it will take you directly to whatever you're looking for so you can check them all out for yourself. And of course, once I'm done testing this, all I have to do is reconnect everything in the reverse order as to how I took it off. So reinstall the wires, reinstall the plastic cover, reinstall the lid to the unit, and then power it all back on. So while this was a really good overview of some of the top scams that unfortunately homeowners are presented with on a daily basis, some of the items that we talked about might require a little bit more information if there's something that you're considering trying to do yourself. One of those items would definitely be the capacitor, and one that a lot of homeowners should know about how to test and replace. So if you'd like more in-depth information on that as far as the testing and replacement, if that's of interest to you, I'll post a link to that video right over here. When you click on it, it will take you directly to it. So hopefully you found value in this video. And if you did, if you could do me a huge favor, hit that thumbs up button right down below. And of course, if you have any questions or comments still, you can leave those down in the comment section. And I'll catch you all in the next one. See ya.